Hey Lions fans! Before we get into an exciting conversation about trades and everything that's been going on behind the scenes, be sure to hit that like button to get the latest news and updates on the Detroit Lions. We're getting close to the trade deadline, and head coach Dan Campbell may have dropped a hint about a possible deal. Let's dive in. So, the NFL trade deadline is November 4th, and with the way our defense is shaping up, it looks like Campbell and the Lions may be eyeing an upgrade at edge. During Monday's press conference, Campbell reminded us that the team isn't in panic mode and isn't in a rush to make a hasty decision. But, and here's the kicker, he had a smirk on his face when he hinted that a trade could be in the works before the deadline. Could Campbell be playing coy, or is there something big coming? Now, here's why a trade could make sense. The Lions have faced some brutal setbacks at edge rusher this season. We lost Aidan Hutchinson, who was on track to be Defensive Player of the Year before a leg injury sidelined him. Hutchinson's absence has been felt, especially with others like Marcus Davenport, Derek Barnes, and John Kaminsky on injured reserve. Without Hutchinson, our pass rush hasn't been what it used to be. In the last 2 games, we've recorded just 1 sack. That's a stat Campbell and the coaching staff can't be happy with. Sure, we have guys stepping up. Al-Quadin Muhammad, recently signed off the practice squad, led the team with 6 pressures and 5 hurries in our dominant win over the Titans. And Levi Amuzarike, who is now playing outside, leads the team in pressures overall. But even with his contributions, we're missing that consistent spark that Hutchinson brought, and a trade could be the move that keeps our Super Bowl dreams alive. One name floating around? Zadarius Smith of the Cleveland Browns. Smith has expressed interest in joining the Lions, and with the Browns struggling at 2-5, they may be looking to offload talent. Smith would bring experience and an aggressive edge that could help bolster our pass rush, making him a tempting option. But of course, nothing is guaranteed, and it all depends on whether the right deal can be struck. So, Lions fans, what do you think? Are you all in for a trade to bolster our pass rush, or do you think we should stick with what we have and move on? Alright, let's talk about Malcolm Rodriguez and the latest injury updates from Week 8. Now, as many of you have seen, linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez had to leave Sunday's game against the Titans with an ankle injury in the first quarter. And we've all been waiting, with bated breath, for any updates. But here's the good news, it appears the injury isn't as serious as it could have been. According to NFL insider Jordan Schultz, Rodriguez didn't suffer a high ankle sprain, which would have kept him out for a long time. Instead, he's dealing with an old ankle issue that has flared up. The current outlook is that he'll likely miss Week 9, but should be ready to go in Week 10 when we face the Texans. This is fantastic news because, as you know, Rodriguez has been a versatile and reliable presence on our defense, switching roles as needed and bringing that spark and physicality week in and week out. Losing him for an extended period of time would have been a huge blow. Now, we're looking at just a short absence, and then he'll be back making plays. Speaking of defense, we also saw Al-Quadin Muhammad get a chance to shine in Week 8. Coach Campbell had some great things to say about Muhammad's effort on the field. He described Muhammad as aggressive, physical, and fully committed, which is exactly what the team was hoping he would bring in an emergency. Campbell mentioned a few things for Muhammad to clean up, especially on certain plays where more discipline could help open things up for guys like Alim McNeill on the line. But overall, Muhammad showed the type of tough play that is in the DNA of this Lions team. There's potential here for him to be a reliable option as we deal with these injuries. Campbell made it clear, however, that there's no panic setting in. The Lions may have had some setbacks on the defensive front, but the coaching staff is confident they can refine their approach and keep moving forward. They're committed to adjusting and improving their pass pressure so that every piece of the puzzle fits together. This team isn't satisfied yet, and that drive to keep improving is exciting to see. Alright, Lions fans, we want to hear from you. How are you feeling about Rodriguez's quick return, and what do you think about Muhammad's potential in our lineup? Are there any moves you think the Lions should make to keep our momentum going? So here's where things stand. Ever since Aidan Hutchinson's season-ending injury, the Lions' defensive line has been feeling the pinch. Over the past 2 games, we haven't seen a sack from our D-line, and we know that's been a concern. While linebackers like Malcolm Rodriguez, Trevor Nowask and Alex Anzalone have stepped up with a few sacks recently. Our own defensive line has struggled to make the same impact. And with the trade deadline approaching, many fans are asking, what's next for the Lions pass rush? Coach Dan Campbell addressed this in his Monday press conference, and he was blunt, assuring fans that there's no panic mode going on here. Campbell acknowledged that, yes, we'd love to see more production, but he also pointed out that there are other ways to create pressure. He noted that opposing teams have been adapting quickly, getting the ball out quickly and attacking us in man coverage. That quick release means there's less time for our defense to get home, which has been part of the challenge. And let's talk about who's stepping up. With Hutchinson out, we're seeing more of James Houston, Josh Paschal, Isaiah Thomas, and Al-Quadin Muhammad. Campbell had specific praise for Muhammad, who made an impact with 6 pressures in Sunday's game alone. It's clear that while we may not have a single player who can fully replace Hutch's production, we have guys ready to step up and give it their all. But here's something that really stood out from Campbell. He emphasized that every team in the league has weaknesses, especially as the season progresses and injuries pile up. The focus, he said, is on how we cover those gaps and play to our strengths. So rather than scrambling for a short-term fix, Campbell's approach is about adjusting our game plan with the talent we have on the roster. Now, we know there's been talk about potentially bringing in a new edge rusher before the deadline. Campbell hinted that if the right player were available, it would be something they would consider. But he also emphasized that this is a decision that has to make sense for the team's trajectory, not just a quick fix. So while a trade could happen, it would only be if the piece fits and actually makes us stronger down the stretch. Another adjustment was putting more responsibility on the secondary. With Hutchinson out, Campbell mentioned that we had to rely more on our backfield, and they rose to the challenge. It wasn't perfect, but our defense was still able to force turnovers, which was critical. The team's special teams and offense are also stepping up to help us play a more balanced game overall. That's the kind of teamwork Campbell is focusing on, making sure each unit supports the others. And let's not overlook the work that defensive coordinator Aaron Glenn has done. Campbell had high praise for Glenn's ability to adapt week to week with a new game plan tailored to each opponent. That's a big reason why we've been able to remain competitive even with a critical player like Hutchinson out. Glenn has been coming up with different approaches to keep our defense unpredictable, and the results have shown. So Lions fans, with all these moving parts, here's the big question. What do you think of the team's approach to filling the void left by Hutchinson? Are you confident in the talent we have, or would you like to see us make a change before the trade deadline? Let's hear your thoughts. Hit the like button, leave a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe for more Lions updates. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Lions!